Hello, and you're all very welcome along to Series 4, Episode 7 of Champ.ie's Road to Cheltenham Challenge, brought to you in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicates.Racing. Talking all things Cheltenham, the top performances over the last 7 days, and answering your hashtag big questions every Monday. Barry and Ronan will once again go head to head by giving one Ante-Post selection each week until the 2024 festival in March.
Galopante Champ returning to the top of the staying division in the Savills. The Gold Cup winner is back for Paul Townend and Winnie Mullins. A sight for sore eyes. Jerry Colomb and Capadano judged for the second and third.
Showing over 44 points profit from a 132-point stake since 2020, the Champ.ie Road to Cheltenham Challenge show is this season bidding to secure 4 years of Ante-Post profit in a row. The lads look forward to discussing your Week 6 selections, and don't forget, it's important to update your full Ante-Post portfolio in the comments to help us keep track. Give this video a like for more Cheltenham content, and be sure to subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 7 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. It is our Christmas review show in association with our proud sponsors, Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racecourse in the southeast. The big day, of course, on the 25th of January, Yesterday's Day. We've Boylesports, our betting partner, and Syndicates.Racing. And we have the Doyle and Groome, who got the wobbly knee over Christmas.
Yeah, another one bites the dust, as you said to me at the top of the show, Basil. But yeah, had to be done. After Caldwell Potter goes in at 20-1, there's no excuses then. The financial plan is well and truly started. So yeah, there you go. Exciting times.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, was that the instigator, Caldwell Potter, 20-1? What a shout. Happy New Year. Congratulations to the future Mr. and Mrs. Groome. And Happy New Year as well to all our viewers and listeners. Make sure to, before we even get started, hit the old thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, get your Week 7 selections down below. It's going to be a slightly different show as well, given the fact that it is our Christmas review show. So no big questions. We have no big race preview. We've so many performances to get our teeth stuck into. I counted 25, Roland. We tried to narrow it down. And as well as that, we've, I suppose, split it up in terms of this side of the Irish Sea and the far side. So we've looked at 6 performances, 3 each, in both Ireland and the UK, and we've star rated them. And we've other performances to discuss, tracker horses, and a selection at the end. So thanks very much as well to everyone who've been continuing to update their portfolio. Of course, the prize on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival 2, the healthiest looking portfolio, means, well, the winner will be announced, and it will be a VIP trip to the Boylesports Irish Grand National. So lots to look forward to there on Easter Monday. And a plug as well, last chance to get involved as well. We did say we'd announce the winner on the 29th, but Christmas, Ronan Groome was getting engaged and that type of thing. So we had to put back announcing the winner. So this is the last chance to get involved in our race and stay package to the Yesterday's Chase, which is, of course, on the 25th of January. So a race and stay package, which includes admission to the races and everything else that goes with it. So it's going to be a fantastic day. Make sure to like the video, comment down below your selections, and you can also enter over on social media as well, Ronan, where you can obviously retweet, follow Gowran Park Racecourse, and tag all your friends. Right, let's crack on with the show, and we'll start this side of the Irish water, Ronan Groome. Caldwell Potter, Grangeclare West, Gaelic Warrior. I've looked at those 3, but we'll start with the real good action on the 28th. What better place to start? You've given a 5-star rating to Galopante Champ. Jerry Colomb gets a crack.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm sure you enjoyed seeing that now. But I have to say, you're like you were kind of slagging me about Jerry Colomb, etc. I mean, the main takeaway from this race was Galopin just back to his best, really, wasn't it? I think this was one of the all-time Leopardstown performances, possibly one of the best we've seen.
Career best.
Career best, arguably, yeah. Up there with the Gold Cup last season, possibly better, but maybe he was beating more established types in the Gold Cup, like Brave Man's Game, where he's beaten couple of second season novices, all be exciting ones, and Jerry Cheltenham, etc. I'm not sure he ran his complete race. Jerry Cheltenham, come on to him in a second. You might disagree there. I suspect you will, but Galopon, you just couldn't argue with him here. Changed tactics, ridden more forcefully here, and just seemed to be a completely different proposition. Jumped much better, looked more happier, but at the same time settled as well. It's like a blend of exactly what you wanted the horse to be. Like if he settled more in front when he was a novice, he would have been absolutely perfect. And they tried to calm him down last season, and it worked a treat. And that looked to be his a negative for him this season. He was too calm. Now he's gone back to nearly what he was, but he's racing more forcefully and racing calmly and just harnessing his energy the way you'd want to do him. And the way he took off after the second last tier and just went clear, come over to the stand side and just bolted up. Like absolutely destroyed him. And context is everything. Obviously, the performance on the way back in the John Durkan at Punchestown, and obviously at Punchestown last season, you're just asking, is has the Gold Cup taken a toll on him? And that was an absolute worthy of performance in the Gold Cup. You know, he's given everything there, and you're just wondering, has that taken a toll on him? But clearly not. And this was his acid test. This was his second run of the season. He had a little excuse for each of his last two starts, and he passed his test in flying colours here, and most definitely the one to beat.
He is, but I suppose his jump 2 and 3 out epitomised National Hunt racing, didn't it? It's exactly what you wanted to see. I personally thought it was a career best effort from Gallup and the Champ. And just to mention as well, Willie, obviously, the big question mark last year was, you know, his stamina, and he had to prove that. But that, as you mentioned, been ridden that more aggressively, let the shackles off, that type of performance. Willie Mullins, after the race, said it was pure stamina. He showed his pure stamina. And I'd imagine you'd be riding him aggressively like his novice days in the Gold Cup as well, given the fact that he has that stamina proven. You mentioned Jerry Cheltenham. He was legless 2 out. In fairness, I did say on the show prior to Leopardstown, he hits that flat spot in his races. I think beating Capodanno, who's rated 158 by, you know, half a length, isn't Gold Cup form, but is there more in the tank from Jerry Cheltenham? There probably is, but he had his optimum conditions. I didn't think there was any excuses. And my big question coming out of the race run, you said he's the one to beat in the Gold Cup. Fast or Slow is standing in his box. Obviously, it's the 28th of December on really, really testing ground. I thought it was a career best. Do you want to be peaking on the 28th of December? How hard was he on himself to put that type of performance up at Leopardstown on Savills Chase Day? Not to come off the bridle, not to even get a smack, and to win the race by 23 lengths. The question is, can he back it up? And if he underperforms 10 pounds below his best, does the likes of Fast or Slow, who's beaten him twice already, have a massive, massive chance in the Gold Cup? That's the question I'd ask.
So you're insinuating that you might have had a difficult race here, and that might that might stand to him in March.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I guess like it's Leopardstown ground still. It's not absolutely bogless ground. It's a chase track at Leopardstown as well, a soft ground. So,
and I'm not trying to clutch at straws. Obviously, if he puts up that type of performance again, he's 100% the one to beat. I mean, Fast or Slow has never raced beyond 3 miles, so he has 3 mile 2 furlong stamina to answer. Gold Cup level of stamina to answer. I don't think there's going to be an issue. Obviously, a Fast or Slow on the team sheet prior to Leopardstown, but that'd just be the question mark. Not too often a Willie Mullins horse peaks on the 28th of December, but I thought it was a career best. And genuinely, do I think he'll put the same performance up again this season? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I imagine he won't run in the Irish Gold Cup, as tempting as it might be for Willie just to run him at Leopardstown again, where he's obviously excellent. Like he's unbeaten there over fences, and he's producing serious performances around the track. And it must be tempting to just go back to the Irish Gold Cup again. But you know how Cheltenham focused things have become. I'd imagine he might just go straight to the Gold Cup now. And that would prompt me to think that he had plenty of time. Willie would have plenty of time to just build him up nicely, or give him a bit of time off now, and then just start shoveling on a bit more coal as each week passing by. And who better than the 17-time champion trainer to get him ready. So I think you are doing a bit of straw clutching there if you're thinking he's going to be any worse. But like as you said, he could run 5, 6, 7 pounds below his best at Cheltenham, and which is still an unbelievable level. And now the key thing with Fast or Slow is he has to get to his level, you know, whereas before is, you know, he's a nice and progressive horse, Fast or Slow, and it was an open Gold Cup when Galop and Champ was coming back to them, but now Galop and Champ's gone back up to that level, and Fast or Slow has to get there even to be competitive with him, in my view. So that, I think that changes everything, the performance and everything.
Sticking with the 28, speaking about, I suppose, an open division, how about the Stairs division now? Because Irish Point has definitely thrown his name into the mix. Although Connections afterwards did mention, Roland, that they might swerve Cheltenham altogether. First of all, you've given a 4-star performance. Very smooth, wasn't it?
Very smooth. Settled like a pony down the back, which is exactly what you want. That was, you know, for a horse going up 3 miles for the first time. Now, I will say the race.
It's a crawl,
will there be a worst grade 1 run and open level on either side of the Irish Seed this season? I don't know. This was poor. Home by the Lee in front. That was, you know, it was horrible. Horrible to go. You know, like literally, the last thing you want to. It was horrible. Really, the whole way around. It was just disgusting, to be honest. And I don't know what they were trying there. Obviously, there was no pace in the race, really, but to try and get this horse to go forward, poor JJ Slevin, oh God, unbelievable, even to get him that far as he did. He must have been wrecked going into straight, and then the horse has just pulled away. He obviously needs something to follow Home by the Lee, bit of a quirky character, and Irish Point, as I said, just settled. They've gone no pace here, and
is he the most? Can I come in here for a second? Is he? Between Irish Point and Stateman, I don't know which is the most professional horse in training. He jumps, foot perfect, settles. You said like a pony. I was going to say like a lamb. However, a lamb settles. But it's just so professional, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so professional. You love the way he did it. But I was just going to say the slow pace. And Daddy said a lot of that slow pace is very good, obviously, but it allowed him to show his speed late on, and maybe perhaps that just won the day against, you know, the likes of Asterion Furlong, who we all know has his quirks as well. Ballyadam on his first start at 3 miles probably was able to show a bit of his speed, which is probably not good enough on the day. Why wouldn't they just run the two of them in the Stairs? Like, what's the big deal here? Like, what are you waiting for with Irish Point to go to Aintree over 2.5 and get smashed by Constitution Hill? Like just run him in the Stairs.
Just on that, because Constitution Hill, I would say this year won't run at Aintree, given that there's a closer gap this year, and I'd say he'll go to Punchestown. That's obviously speculation. Bob Ollinger's obviously come out and thrown his name into the hat as well, and I'd say they'll stick the 2.5 mile, continue down the 2.5 mile route with him, which I think they have to roll the dice personally. I mean, I was flirting with Irish Point at the start of the year, you know, in around the same time as I put up Willmount at 16-1 for the Supreme. We'll come on to that later, but I thought that was a good price, 20-1 about Irish Point for a Stairs hurdle after his performance up at Down Royal. Ante-Post, I think, is very, you know, you wouldn't want to see good to soft ground. I wonder would that influence Jack's decision, should the two of them run, you know, the ground conditions, you know, that'll be obviously left to the very last minute. I think Irish Point is a big contender. I think Rob Corr should run the two of them. I think they will. Like what you said, the race set up for a non-proven stayer, and you know that touch of class. I mean, he left them for dead turning into the straight. One on the bridle. Jack Kennedy's quote afterwards was he'd do more than a piece of work at home. So I think you're right. You couldn't give him any more than a 4-star rating. Looking at the quality of the actual race, there was no Floating Porter or Classical Dream in the race this year. That being said, I do think he'll stay 3 miles. I thought he proved his stamina already in a really true run race at Cheltenham, for example. Look at the pace they went in the Stairs hurdle last year. I mean, Sire de Burle, it took Sire de Burle to win it in terms of stamina. Ante-Post is going to be that year older, that year stronger. Form of the Hatton's Grace is, I think that's the best piece of form on offer. He wouldn't want good to soft ground. I think that's the one thing about Ante-Post, is the ground. And would Jack Kennedy, if it was good to soft ground, would he ride maybe Irish Point in a Stairs hurdle? I think the two of them will run. I think they should run. I think anyone that's on at juicy prices, I think fair play to you, because I think Irish Point is a cracking horse. And I think he'll be that bit better again next year as well. Obviously, he's only a 5-year-old rising 6. 5-year-olds had a great record in the Christmas hurdle. I thought he was a cracking bet, Ronan, I have to say, going into the race. We did say that on the show prior on the Christmas special. But 4-star rating on the 28. It was a great day's racing. Finish up with Ballyburn, because maybe slightly less impressed with him. 3.5 star?
Yeah, and I know you like him a lot. I just tend to be a bit conservative with the maiden hurdles. The horse he beat, Cletus Pula, like he was well beaten by Daddy Longlegs the last day, and Daddy Longlegs has since been well held. So maybe just holding that a bit against him. You couldn't argue with the way the horse did it. He was, the pace he showed away from the second last, like it was very visible. If you go back and watch from the jump to second last, he's just literally in a few strides he was gone, and that was it. And if you've seen the finishing speeds for the race, he was doing 104%. The rest of them dipped below 100% for the last 4 furlongs finishing speed. So he was quicking up while the rest were slowing down. So you couldn't argue with that. That was pretty impressive. The horses in behind, a slight question mark of their level, but he's gone and beat them by 25 lengths, and I can't argue with the fact that he's gone pretty short, or relatively short now in the Ballymore market, and we'll have to see what Firefox does, presumably this Sunday at Naas, in the Grade 1 there, the Lawlers. So yeah, they're definitely impressive, and maybe I could have been a bit more. I could have gone 4 stars there, but I just went 3.5, just with a slight question of what he's actually beaten.
I have to say I'm nearly doing a full U-turn in terms of Ballyburn's destination, because I thought all along he was a Ballymore type. I have to say he did not look short of speed. He was probably, for the first mile of the race, as Ballyburn does, he was holding his head quite low. He was definitely a touch keen. He covers a serious amount of ground, this horse. I mean, he's a proper athlete. I think Willie Mullins said after the race, Ronan, you probably got quotes from Willie, but I think I read the quote that, does fitness-wise, I mean, he's going to improve massively again. I love the gears he showed, particularly in that, I suppose, third quarter of the race, from 3 to 2 out and off the final bend. I thought he showed loads of gears. And I'm beginning to wonder, genuinely, would a really strong run 2 miles suit better than the Ballymore? Because I think his jumping did definitely improve. He made that bad mistake, of course, against Firefox, but, Firefox was able to dictate on that occasion. It was a slowly run enough race. And I just wonder, over 2 miles in, I'd love to see him over 2 miles in that Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival to really test his mettle. And if he does go that route, I mean, he's not going to go for the Lawlers and Ace now. Il Atlantique is obviously heading there. That Grade 1 over 2 miles at the Dublin Racing Festival, previous winners appreciated, went to the Supreme. Vitour went to the Supreme. Champagne Fever won the race, went to the Supreme. Classical Dream won the race, went to the Supreme. Who's Woody's obvious Supreme candidate? I'm beginning to think it might end up being Ballyburn.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make. Like, as impressive these horses look now, the Supreme, there's no obvious one there yet. And we're going to get on to Jericho Drebonnet in the British section of our star ratings, but like he's a 5-1 shot, having achieved very little really. And you're looking there, I could see this being there's a lot of horses in you would have primed out as 2.5 mile kind of Ballymore types that might make a late switch to the Supreme, because it looks that bit open at the moment. I'm talking about the likes of Firefox, Caldwell Potter, these types of horses that Gordon might suggest that they were 2.5 milers at the start of the season, but there's no problems with going down to 2 miles for the Supreme. You need a bit of stamina there as well, so that's something worth in mind. And I think the picture will become a lot more clear after a Sunday at Naas as well.
Well, I think we might as well come on to Caldwell Potter, and just another plug for yourself, Ron. You tipped them up at 20-1 on our Christmas special, so congrats anyone that followed in. I know Mark Mackay, a good follower of the Road to Cheltenham, does brilliant videos himself. Mark was very complimentary in the comments below, and I think even give a shout out on his own video, so thanks very much for that, Mark. But yeah, it was a shout. In fairness, 20-1, nothing to be snuffed at, Ronan. Great shout out of you, and I've given him a 4.5 star rating. I wouldn't like to see this horse being underestimated, I have to say, Roland. Obviously, the conditions would have suited Caldwell Potter. Westport Cove, I think Jerry Hannon in the commentary is going on a lick. He's with a fair pace now in front, 6 lengths in front on heavy ground, turning down the back. I mean, this was definitely set up for. This was a strongly run race over the 2 miles, and I just have to say, I thought this horse was once again very, very professional in what he done. He was in the plumb position the whole way. He was in the box seat, sitting in second against the rail. Obviously, the ground conditions. He's 2 from 2 now on heavy ground, so the ground could be a factor. But Classical Dream came to mind for me, Roland. If it turned up, softer, heavy ground on that Tuesday at Cheltenham, I think this horse, what I like about him is his ability to relax and his cruising speed in a strongly run race over 2 miles. I quite like them, I have to say. I think that high cruising speed in a race like this, in a strongly run race over 2 miles, was definitely a plus. He galloped off the bend to me like a good horse. They've pulled well clear of some decent types, and some might argue, sometimes you see when street fields are strung out on this type of ground, people question the form, but they're good horses in behind, and they've absolutely trounced them. Predator's Gold second, I was coming there with this challenge. Both made a mistake at the last, but that was Caldwell Potter's only mistake in the race. And I thought he jumped quite well in the main, and they've pulled 38 lengths clear of some very good horses, which include Down Memory Lane. The ground obviously a factor, but that's a fair old distance to be beating rivals such as these.
Absolutely, yeah, and kind of strong over the 2 miles, real strong staying performance. And the thing with him is, and I've backed him for the Ballymore at a nice price prior to the race as well. But it's just, you're buzzing after the race, and listen to Gordon. You're waiting, right, Gordon? Give us the, tell us this is the next second coming or something. And he kind of did the opposite. It was kind of like,
not as classy as Mighty Potter is what he said.
Yeah, like that was one of the first things he said, and I kind of go, oh, "Come on, Gordon! This is this horse has just won a Grade 1, and the front two have come 30 odd lengths clear. He must be excited. He comes from a great family. Obviously, he's the full brother to Mighty Potter, and French Dynamite's in the family. Another good horse as well. Brighter Days Ahead. Like really, really, really nice family, and he's the latest one. And as I said, when he won at Nav, and he done a great time, done 12 seconds faster than that Gigaro, who's in the Lawlers this Sunday as well. Bective stud horse. So you're waiting just to hear it, but maybe Gordon's just a bit down on him, and I don't know, maybe thinks he's going to be chaser, maybe in time, and
no matter what the race, Ronan, no matter what the race with Caldwell Potter, I think what he wants and what he enjoys is an end-to-end gallop. I think that's when you see the best. Yeah. So I thought it was
Supreme. He could end up in the Supreme, mind you. Maybe that's it for him. You like a stamina-laden horse in that sort of race, and he's able to go a strong nick and keep going. So maybe that is the race he'll end up in. So we'll see.
And his jumping was very, very good. Grangeclare West, I've given it a 4-star rating, and people were raving. He shot to the front of the market in the Brown Advisory. And I'm going to say it, Ron, I think this is a false favourite for the Brown Advisory. We'll come on to the Brown Advisory in a later section of the show. But Grangeclare West, for me, I thought the race fell apart perhaps a little bit. Flooring Porter obviously has gone out in front, so like he usually does, whether it's fences or hurdles, and he's gone an honest pace. Favori de Champ.ie contested the lead for a large part. Grangeclare West he's probably one of the most gorgeous moving horses in National Hunt training. Is that fair to say? The way he covers ground, the way he travels through his races, he was probably over racing a little bit earlier for him to be an ultra critical of him. The reason I haven't given him any more than a 4-star rating was a really, really good performance, very smooth performance. But the race itself, I think, might have fell apart. Corbus Cross given a very strange ride, I thought, out the back. Jumping was more like his Nace performance than his Fairy House performance, and was left a lot to do. Did the likes of Flooring Porter or Favori de Champ.ie really run the race? I'm not entirely sure. He cruised off the bend. His jump 2 out was he was produced beautifully by Townham, wasn't he? I mean, I think if we're given star rating here to Ryder's performance at Cheltenham, or at Leopardstown at Christmas, I thought Paul Townend's ride on Grangeclare West was brilliant. I thought he got him to settle a lot better maybe than he did last time, even though he is that touch keen. He had him in the box and he produced him perfectly at the second last, cruised in off the bend. But a couple of question marks as well, just in relation to Grangeclare West, Ronan. Obviously, he's an extremely lightly raced 8-year-old son of presenting. He's only had 7 starts, so he's older. He's had more years than starts in the racecourse. And I suppose he's never been to Cheltenham. He's never made it to Cheltenham. So how would he handle the course? To be 7-2 at the top of the market for the Brown Advisory against these type of horses. Nicer ground. He's obviously by presenting. I think Willie made reference to that afterwards. He wasn't sure about the softer ground, but I think he's better on this type of ground personally. And how hard is he on himself, like Gallop in the Champ, to put up a performance like that on the 29th of December at Leopardstown and that type of ground. So he does over race, and I just wonder in a Brown Advisory, an end-to-end gallop in a better quality of race. For me, I couldn't have him at that price anyway. I probably wouldn't back him at double the price.
I'd be more positive on him. I'd say, like he wasn't quite coming back from the brink like Galop and Champ was. But it was quite interesting that the race, like Paul Town did quite similar. Came up across to the stand side, travelled beautifully into the race, and just went away and won easily in the same style. I think even Jerry Hannon referred to it as the Galop and Champ route in the race commentary there. And like he was a really impressive or a really exciting horse after he won his maiden hurdle at Navan last season. If you recall, he was 13-length winner there, and he went to the Lawlers and he was a short price, and he just cut out after the second last, or just before the second last. Paul Townend came in, I remember, as an ace that day, was scratching his head, didn't really know what the situation was, and the horse then went and disappointed again at a relatively, he wasn't unfancied when he went for the 2-6 then at the Dublin Racing Festival, and then won a Punchestown then after a Mickey Mouse race. But he seems to have settled better now over fences, I think. I can see what you're saying, he's a bit buzzy, but I liked what he did at Naas. And obviously he's a big improver now for a step up to 3 miles, and was able to finish out his race. Like, he's won pretty much hard held. I was more impressed with it now, I have to say. Like the horse cost 400 and something, 430, 50 grand or something as a point-to-point recruit. Like, and as you said, a beautiful looking beast, moves well. Like, obviously maybe now it's just he's coming to himself as a chaser. That's his thing. And I would say I would back him at his price now, but I can't really argue with the fact that he's above Factor File in the market, for all that I was impressed with him, and we'll talk about him in due course.
Yes, Gaelic Warrior, I thought. We'll talk about Mullins Gate as well, but briefly. But let's look at, Gaelic Warrior, for me, was the second 5-star performance of the Christmas. Obviously, it's not a Savage chase. It was the Fahey Novices chase down at Limerick, but I think you've got him in the book, Ronan, at odds of 9-2, and he's just beautiful, isn't he, to watch, especially going this way around. He attacks his fences very much like an Arkle horse. What I love about him is not just how much he attacks his fences, but how quick he is away from his fences. He sprints away from them. He's spring-heeled. And the landing gear is just always... He's just always meeting one on the right stride, and he's always just so quickly away from his fences. He's electric, really. And if the Arkle was right-handed, I'd say that's definitely the route to be going. Is to probably be dropping him back in trip, not going up in trip. And I just think for the reason that he is still jumping out to his right, we can't deny that. Patrick even said it on the Christmas show that the Turners probably looks the ideal race for him. You've him in the book at 9-2. I think he's a penalty kick if he turns up, right. The only thing I would say, Ronan, is he's never won on good ground in the past. All his wins have come on softer ground. I thought he was brilliant, I have to say. I thought Ilete Tomp obviously in behind. Does he really have the scope for fences? I mean, it was very ambitious, I thought, from Danny going up the inside. If Gaelic Warrior was to jump out to his right and the two of them were upsides, then Danny's gone out to the rail. So I have to say I'm with Patrick on this one.
Yeah.
Not just because he was on the show last week.
Yeah, well, I kind of have to specify. I know Patrick reasonably well. Went to college with him, so I don't... Probably biased there as well. I wouldn't... I can understand where he was coming from. I think the hoo-ha or the crux of the whole controversy or better, whatever, I think is probably a meal has been made out of it a bit, but just the language maybe used after the race, probably not ideal in the circumstances. I think people might have got the wrong end of the stick of that, there's like some sort of mini meeting between the Mullins jockeys before they go out and they plan out this is what happened, when I'm sure it doesn't happen, but he made it sound like that, and it's not like any jockey would explain. I think Ruby and a few other people have said that any jockey would explain to another jockey from another state riding for another stable at the start of a race, look, my horse jumped right or he jumped left, just letting you know that's the way I'll be going, etc., or whatever during the race. Even they're looking out for each other.
I think just to the handle though,
heads up, But just the point I'm making is you can be better with your language there of how you he explained it afterwards. I think just that it's not seen or it's not perceived by people that, you know, there's some sort of mini meeting between all the Mullins jockeys going out and they tell each other what to do and this is how we win the race, that it's perceived to be team tactics, which I'm sure it's not. I'm not insinuating that at all, but it just came out like that, and I can see why people would get annoyed with that.
I don't know. I have to say, I think it's pure transparent, and I do think, even in fairness to Justin O'Hanlon, I mean, he called it in commentary. You know, Danny could run out of room here. Is the phrase he used before the last fence, and just given everything that we know about Gaelic Warrior and the way that he jumps, it's clearly, I think, a safety thing now, especially coming from the Close Sutton camp. You don't exactly want two of your best novice chasers taken out of it at the last fence. So, yeah, no, I have to say, I thought it was a really good performance. 5-star rating for me, Gaelic Warrior, and takes the world of beating. And I think obviously the new course in the Turner's 2.5 mile is going to allow for his jumping out to the right. So that wouldn't be a concern whatsoever. But just to know, one interesting thing before we wrap up on Gaelic Warrior, could he end up close to 170 in terms of ratings? Galloping the Champ, I think, ended up at 168 or 169. Could we see 170 rating on Gaelic Warrior before the beginning of next season?
I guess he needs the horses to run against him, doesn't he? Will he scare? Will he end up? He's such a short price for the Turners now. Will the Turners end up like it did for what Galloping the Champ was? It was a 4-runner field, and two of them weren't trying. It was basically Galloping the Champ against Bob Ollinger that year, wasn't it? So will he get the horses to race against him is the point to make on that matter, because you need those horses to elevate your rating. So we'll see, I guess. The 2.5 miles, could Corbett's Cross come back to that trip now? Maybe. I'm not sure.
Corbett's Cross win an Irish national, maybe. I'm not saying that he's not classy enough, but was he jump well enough for a grade 1 around Cheltenham?
Yeah, well, Emma could be thinking about, you know, Ascot Gold Cups for all we know. You know, like that's the type of thing he's thinking outside the box. So we might be thinking along the wrong lines.
Absolutely right. Well, do you know what? We have to cross over the Irish Sea in just a moment, Ronan. But before we do so, let's head for this.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Gaelspie Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Gaelspie Days, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Alpha's Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, silver last, that'll be the finishing order.
Yes, and well, what a syndicate, what an opportunity to get involved in racehorse ownership. Syndicates.Racing, of course, Grangeclare, Cabaret Queen, such fantastic runners, of course, in those famous white silks with the, of course, the black cap and the red star. Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, Sir Henry the Bromhead, Joseph O'Brien, John McConnell, Gavin Cromwell, and much, much more. A big catalogue to choose from. And, well, if you want to get involved in Syndicates.Racing, thanks to Jack and the guys, make sure to select your horse on the website. And if you are making that all-important purchase, all caps Champ, into the discount section of the website, hit apply, and you'll get your €50 off your first share. So a good offer once again, and Jack has extended the offer, of course, right throughout the remainder, should I say, of the National Hunt season. So, Ronan, we have to cross the ocean, and we've taken 6 performances from the UK, and obviously I've taken, once again, the top 3 here. You've taken the bottom 3. Going to start with you again here. Jericho the Repine. He's obviously, what is he, 4-1? I think 7-2 in places for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Geez, that's very, very short, isn't it?
That's just what we were saying, I guess, isn't it? With the no real obvious contender or a horse that's put his head above the parapet as of yet. I believe A Dream to Share is due to run this month, which could change everything, I guess. But for now, Jericho de Repine is a 5-1 shot, having achieved, like, he looks good and he's travelled well and he's picked up nicely. But has he beat anything of note, really? He's got a rating of 132, which means he's quite an obvious contender for the Betfair Hurdle. And maybe, given his silks and the person he races for, that was the plan all along. Let's go and win these novice hurdles, doing very little. Or just winning by the bare amount, and we'll have a nice little mark for the Betfair Hurdle, and that has been a way into the Supreme in recent seasons at all. For all that, I don't think Betfair Hurdle winners have a great record. My 10 years comes to mind as well. He bolted up at Newbury and was still beaten at Cheltenham. So look,
Darlan was going well.
Darlan as well, yes, correct. And look, yeah, so what can you say? I mean, like, that race at Newbury on Saturday turned into a sprint as well. They've just come home very fast, and he's done it maybe. But what's he beaten? The horses he's beaten the second or third there, 120 odd rated, and that's it.
Well, Paradies, Ronan, finished third in the end, but he gave him 10 lengths at the start to Jericho the Repine.
Yes,
You mentioned they went a steady pace. They're upsides at the last, and I think probably Paradies, the ground was probably a factor against him. White Kodiak, I mean, testing ground wouldn't exactly be. I know he's won on soft ground in the past, but I thought he gave him a lot of ground at the start. And for him to be upsides coming down to the last, Jericho de Repine, he's done what he's had to do. As you mentioned, the rating 132, 2 from 2 now at Newbury. He's a gorgeous looking horse and jumps very, very nicely. But God, I mean, James Bowen said before the race was even run, that the horse probably wants to step up and trip. Looking at how Wilmount's ran, obviously he bombed out completely. Be interesting to see what excuse comes to light, because I think there is one coming. But 2 lengths covered the field coming down or approaching 2 out. I mean, it definitely turned into a sprint. This is not world-beating form anyway, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not really. I mean, you have to. At some point, the market has to. Of course, it does have to take into account that this is a hype horse. There's been a lot of chat about it. It's getting the full Henderson treatment so far of cotton wool kind of job, and starting him in those races at Newbury and all the chats about him. So that does count for something. Of course, it does. But wouldn't. It's just it's a product of the Supreme market, or the Supreme novice hurdle scene as it is at the moment. We just haven't seen a real cut above yet, and he's the one who's moved into the vacuum, I suppose. And he has looked impressive. He's done nothing wrong, I suppose. But let's see. Let's hold judgment on him.
Sticking with Newbury, Captain Teague, obviously in the Challow hurdle. Paul Nicholls, has he won the last 4? 3.5-star rating. Idled after the last, didn't he?
Idled after the last, but stayed on strongly. Like, I'm just wondering, this is the 4th time Paul Nicholls has won this race, and maybe it's a case of what's that famous quote about doing the same thing and expecting the different results? And they're going to go Albert Bartlett this time, because the Challow, the notion of the Challow hurdle being a Ballymore trial is just not there. It's never produced a Ballymore winner, and for the last 3 years, all Nicholls impressive winners and Newbury have been near lapped, bar Braveman's Game Move, who just obviously ran into a couple of decent Irish novices that season. The rest of those Stage Star and Hermes Allen both bombed at Cheltenham. You know, the Shallow on heavy ground at Newbury, it's more of it's a real stayer kind of course, and that's what it turned into this time.
I thought it looked a good race on paper this year.
It looked like it was deep enough, and there's plenty there. And Look Away is a decent yardstick, I suppose. And the front 4 have come more or less clear, I guess. And it just looked a stairs performance to me. And he probably did idle a bit. But once he got to the front, you always felt he was going to win. He see the race out strongly. Go for the Albert Bartlett now. I know people will say, look, he was third in the champion bumper. He can't be short of pace. But what he did there to go and win a Shallow on heavy ground, that screamed more stamina for me, and I think speed's an underrated attribute in the Ballymore. We've seen year on year on year, so I think he just could. If he went for the Ballymore, I wouldn't even look at him.
I wouldn't even look at him, but I tell you, I would look at him at soft ground in an Albert Bartlett on the Friday. I genuinely think he'd be a massive player in that. And to have the class to finish, as you mentioned, third in the champion bumper, I think the form has obviously worked out. Obviously, we've seen Factor 5 come out and win this Christmas as well. But I just have to say, I thought Captain Teague didn't do a tap in front. Absolutely right, Ronan. Right call to go down the route of the Albert Bartlett. But do you know what? We'll stick with the novices here, because Gidley Park obviously ran prior to Christmas. I think the racing blogger had the mortgage, the wife, the kids, the whole lot on Gidley Park. But I was talking to Stephen actually afterwards. But Gidley Park, 5-star rating. I think this is some beast now. He walked through two of the first 3 hurdles. Green as grass, took an awful grip coming up by the stands. He's far from the finished article. When we spoke to Harry Fry on the show, actually, I really zoned in on this horse, because they think quite a lot of Gidley Park, and he couldn't keep the smile off his face. He's won under a penalty here. He's 2 from 2. He's unbeaten in 3 starts now for Harry Fry. And I think, do you know what I think about Gidley Park? The better the race, the better this horse is going to be. I think he's the best British novice that we've seen this season. I'm going to give him a 5-star rating, Ronan. I was very, very impressed. I love the distance he put between his rivals on the run-in. And I have to say, I think he's a big, big, big player for the Ballymore. I really do. I was flirting with him this week. But I still have some time, because hopefully we'll still see double figures before he runs at the Trials Day. I think he's run the Trials Day. That race that I think Jan won once upon a time before going into the Ballymore with a real decent chance. I wouldn't be rushing to step him up and trip. I mean, he was laughing at his opposition coming down to 2 out. He was just lobbing along like he was doing a half speed. It's a massive horse. That's the one thing. I was worried, would Cheltenham this year, Grade 1 novice hurdles, come a little bit too fast in his career, but he's only going one direction, Roland. And we saw Neon Wolf in the past finish second in the race for Connections. Went off favoured.
Yeah, absolutely. I more or less what you thought, Basil. The way he tanked through the race was impressive, and you just watch it and you go, in a better run race, bigger field, when he gets a stronger pace to run off, he could be some weapon, all right. Yeah, and
his jumping improved, Ronan. His jumping improved as the race, as the tempo, as the race, as the tempo got quicker, his jumping really did improve, and that's what I liked.
Yeah, and he did it. He was doing it on soft ground there. But he won it good to soft at Exeter. And I wonder would the 2 miles of the Supreme make any appeal to them at all, going back to that trip? As we said earlier on with Caldwell Potter, good strong pace on there. You need to stay strongly, and obviously he has that 2.5 mile in the bank, kind of. And he just appeared to me as one that would, once he gets a bit of a pace or a stronger sort of tempo to run off, that he'd settle a lot easier, and he'd tank through a race, or he'd travel there for you and come and had that bit of class that could see him as an above average type novice. Which
I just wonder, would he be? I wonder, would he be organised enough for a fast run Supreme? That's where I think that's one area he does probably need to brush up on. You mentioned Ballyburn and Caldwell Potter, being that strong staying 2 milers. I think they're a little bit more organised at the hurdles than Gidley Park, and would he put in a clanger coming down the hill there to 3 out? I wonder about a race like that, or coming down to 2 out, should I say, in the Supreme. But definitely, I see your case for, this horse is quality. You could probably run him in any of the 3 novice hurdles, and he'd probably have a real lively chance, in my view. Sergino, just sticking with this, obviously a juvenile, backed off the absolute boards. Nico, fine specimen now. This looks, it certainly doesn't look like a 3-year-old anyways. I'd say this horse is talented. Whether he's this year's product, once again, I'm not entirely sure. I can only give him a 3.5-star rating, Ronan, simply because he made a mistake. I think it was the fourth hurdle down the back. He took it out of the ground. He had a good look at the last as well. After he took off like a jet between the second last and the last flight. He really showed a lovely turn of foot, but he had a right old look at the last. They dropped him in. He was quite keen early in the race as well. Nico tried to drop him in last, and I think passing the stands, he tugged his way into third. So he didn't settle. It was a very sedate pace, in fairness, but I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, more so with Sergino now than Gidley Park, but he's definitely one for the future, very talented. I don't think he's this year's product though, personally, Sergino, in terms of Grade 1 at the Cheltenham Festival. I don't know, I'd be struggling now to back him at his price for the Triumph Hurdle, personally. I think there's a lot more depth in that division. Constitution Hill. Let's move on to the championship races here across the water, Ronan. Constitution Hill. I thought he was a little bit more keen in this race than I've seen him before. I don't know what you think about this.
Possibly, yeah. First time out of the season, and in a not very good race. He just wants to go faster than the horses he's running against, and at all times. And
he'd win a group level on the flat, wouldn't he?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, you'd think he'd be a fair animal, at least up to Group 2 level, maybe Group 3. Look, I don't know what else you can say about him. His hurdling is just so slick, isn't it?
That's unreal.
I did hear people kind of mooted, or I think I read somewhere, people wondering, would that ever be a negative for him, as in he jumps so slick that if he, bit like Bouvardere back in the day when he used to jump his so fast and that, but if you get one wrong or if you clip the top someday, would he ever come down? But I mean, you're absolutely clutching at straws there. But he's just too good, isn't he? It's just a pity we don't see him more.
Well, just on that, because Nicky Henderson, obviously, there was big talk last year about the ground at Ascot, and Nicky mentioned, it was very, very quick, and he was a little bit worried first run of the season. He's come here. It's the first time he's actually won on good ground in his career. He's 8 from 8 now, Constitution Hill. It's a 2-horse race. I think Stateman is improving. I think he'll have to be on his A game to beat Stateman the way he's moving this year. He took a pole a couple of times, about 6 or 7 furlongs out. I thought he raced a little bit keener, but in a better quality of race. I mean, a Stateman could just be giving him a lead, really, couldn't he, in the champion hurdle? If the real Constitution Hill turns up, that's the only reason I've given him, I docked him a half a stars, because I just thought he was maybe a little bit fresher or keener than usual, because that's his biggest asset, really, isn't it? He's so professional, and mentally he's bomb-proof. He's beat a decent yardstick in third gear. Robbo, should I say, is rated 149. He's beaten it by 9 lengths. He's not come out second or third gear. So what more do you say? Brilliant performance once again. And Crambo, last word to you before we move on to any other performances. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, Crambo, he's good. He's a horse on the up, 7-year-old. He's done well. You were probably hoping Paisley Park might hold on. He's an old favourite of mine, and I'm sure a lot of people's as well. But he came and got him. Kind of always looked like he was going to get him towards the end of the on the run-in, I suppose. He's 5 from 8 over hurdles, Cramo, so he's clearly going the right way. I just don't think the British novice, or the British staying hurdle division is as strong as the Irish, with particularly the Rob Core horses going over. I think Paisley Park was 6th in a stayers hurdle last season, just well held there, 12 lengths away from Sire de Burley and the likes of Teopu. And I think Irish Point is obviously a coming force now, looks strong. Teopu probably stronger again. So his sort of price for the stairs hurdle now didn't make a great deal of appeal, for all that he is progressive. He possibly could have won the old fixed brush there.
How did he not win it off 142 is the question.
Yeah, I know, possibly on another day that might have worked out better for the rider there, but in any case he still ran okay there off 139 or third, and has obviously took his form to a significantly high level now, with a grade 1 win. And he's progressive and he could improve again. My hunch is that the Irish stay hurdlers are just a cut above at the moment.
Well, I counted 7 to 10 were in with chances swinging off the home bend. And obviously you mentioned a couple of the old pensioners in the lineup. By the way, look at the Ryanair Chase this year, just to mention. I think I counted 4 of the top 6 in the betting are all 10 years of age. But Stayers Hurdle Division in England, obviously with Champ in there, with Paisley Park, Dashel, Drasher. 7 of the 10 were definitely in with a chance turning for home. So I think it turned into a bit of a dash. Crambo was tanking 4 outs, and he hit that flat spot as well, turning in. So I think more of an end-to-end, a true run race would suit Crambo, and you'll probably see an even better horse. So I wouldn't totally discount him now. I have to say, I was impressed, given the fact that he's obviously taken a big step forward from his Haydock run. He's unexposed still, probably over this distance, in a better quality of race. I think I wouldn't be quick to write him off. I have to say, I think that division is looking very, very competitive now, the Stay and Hurdle division. Right, Ron, I know the list is endless, really. We could talk about horses over Christmas till next week, but of the other performances at Christmas, before we do come on to our tracker horse section, give us a couple that stuck out to you.
Yeah, I have 4 altogether from Leopardstown. One that you like, and I'll leave her till the end. You can maybe come in off the back of that and give yours. So the first one was the first winner of the whole meeting. No flies on him. I just thought he was really nice. Did it really nicely from the front there for Edward O'Grady and JP McManus. Nice to see Edward O'Grady with a good horse for JP as well. Like, you're harking back to the right old days there. Like,
he was good.
Donovan. He was good, and he travelled nicely from the front, and he did a quicker time than King of Kingsfield. And Edward waxed lyrical of him after the race. Clearly very relieved to have a half decent horse, because he might have been starved of that for the last day. He said JP gave him very kindly, let him pick one out for him at the store sales, and he picked this fella out. So fair play to him. Looks a nice horse. Thought he was slightly overlooked in the Supreme market, considering what we've just said. He is only a maiden hurdle winner, but I'm sure he'll go for a Grade 1, possibly the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival. That'll make a bit of sense. So keep an eye out him. I think there's 33-1 out there. Nürburgring in the Grade 2 there. I thought he shaped very well in behind Calaconte. This turned into a right sprint after the last. They finished off really, really fast altogether. And considering he's £6 wrong with that filly, Gordon Elliott's filly, who he beat at Fairyhouse, which looks strong form now. The two of them came clear there. And this race turned into a sprint, and she was in the right place, given a real good run by Danny Gilligan. He just got tapped for toe after last, but really stayed on strongly. And I think emerges with probably more credit than the winner. And the Mullins horse that was second there, Cargis, did very well, obviously making her debut for the trainer and in Ireland as well. So I say the second and third there might actually turn around the form with Calaconte going forward. But Nürburgring just struck me as a horse that would be much more suited to a more staying test over 2 miles, and in that case Cheltenham as well. And then 2 other ones I just wanted to mention were Jatara. She did very well. She's a second season novice, which I just had to double check again, but she's won her last 3 races now, and she was quite impressive over the 2.5 miles there.
She's improving rapidly.
Yeah, and improving at the right time, but she can go back, and she was running against open mares there. She can go back and run against novices now, which makes her interesting. But I wonder, going back to 2-1 for the mares novice, would that just be a bit too sharp for her? She won over 2.5 miles here, and Jesse's talking about going up to 2.6 for the Nathaniel Lacey, which she'd have an outside chance in. She gets £7 there off the geldings. But she's improving rapidly, as you say, and just think she's interesting. She's like 10-1 for the mares novice hurdle with Boyles. And for the same race at the same price, Jade de Grugy. I was at Leopardstown when she won, and she was, I was talking to Paul Townend after, or he was talking to us even, and he was just saying she was always easy for her, whereas the horse coming, his ass was the horse that came with him hassling him at all, and he said no, it was just easy for my mare, and she came right away, won really impressively on heavy ground her first start.
He's a good horse.
Yes. I forget
Butcher
the name
Hollow.
of the horse the second now. Yes, Butcher's Hollow, yeah. The Cooper horse, yeah. So like that's decent form, and he's put him to the sword pretty easily on her first start. I think this has probably been a bit overlooked. And then I'd say she might be a little bit overpriced for the mares novice as it is at the moment. So yeah, they're just the 4 ones I wanted to throw out there.
Of all the horses of all the races, I was thinking of going this week and putting a second horse up for the mares and double team, because I think she's a big danger to every single mare.
Yeah,
only by night. I think she's very, very good. I thought that was a very good debut. She won on good ground over 1 mile and 4 in France. She's been given plenty of time they only hacked, I think it was to the third flight. And just watching the race back, I mean, with 10 to jump, they got racing in this race. And the two of them locked horns. I think Jerry Hannon was saying they've had a good argument the whole way, turning into the straight, and she's just took off like she's just joined in.
Burned them off, yeah. Burned them off. Easy.
I mean, if the two of them had a fell away here, you would have said they cut each other's throats. But she's pricked their ears. She showed a lovely attitude to keep galloping on this type of ground. They've locked horns, as I said. I think it was turning into the back straight. So that's 10 flights from home. And I have to say, she reminded me of a young Vroom Vroom Mag, even the way she looks. I mean, she has that, white blaze, big set of lugs, unassuming mare. She showed a lovely attitude, and stepping back and trip is not going to be an issue to her. I mean, I think she's a real big player. And I think at this point in time, I do think she's overpriced for the Mayor's Novices Herd. That looks a red hot division now. Die Sardinas, brighter days ahead.
Fun.
I'd much prefer Jade de Grugy of the Mullins runners. You mentioned Look to the West. I mean, we haven't seen her since. And then it's going to be some Salarina now, I'd say, if they all take each other on.
I'd say she'll go there, actually. Jade de Grugy will go with the honeysuckle colours. She'd go for that race. That's been a race they loved down the years. So I'd say that's where you see her next.
I have to say, I really loved her. I thought she was one of the standout performances of the whole Christmas for me. I like Bunting, have to say. I thought he showed plenty in a weak race. I think he'll have learned a lot from it. He didn't get it. He got a contested lead. He settled well. Showed a lovely turn of foot from the back of the second last, and had a good look at the last and jumped it big and bold. I thought he's a horse that can probably improve a lot, and I'd be fascinated to see Willie Mullins' other juvenile in a better quality of race, because Stormheart in the Gigginstown Silks, and we've seen that obviously after Christmas, a poor enough race. Katona made the race very, very messy in front, jumping down the back at Punchestown. I mean, Katona's slowed into 2 or 3 hurdles, and Stormheart got hampered on more than one occasion. And I thought that showed serious boot now off the final bend, turn of foot, put 22 lengths between himself and the second on heavy ground at Punchestown in a weak race. Okay, I'd just be fascinated to see the two of those up in class. If you were to book gun to head in terms of the Willie juveniles at this point in time, Ethical Diamond was a big disappointment, wasn't he? I think Connections have made that well known. I'd be siding with Bunting. I think this horse reminds me a little bit of Blood Destiny last year, and I think he can improve a lot. And I thought that was a really good performance. They'd probably be the two performances that I took from the Christmas period outside the ones we've mentioned, and we've one more to mention, and we will discuss it, of course, in the last segment of the show, because we have a selection to put up. Make sure to put your week 7 selections down below, of course. But Ronan, before we do move on to our selections this week, what is your one tracker horse that you're going to put forward? Because just to mention, it's been a very good week. It's been a very good period for the tracker. Nassalam, since you put him up, Ronan, as a tracker horse, has come out and won twice. Bertie's Ballet won. Spallan's Tower won. It's proved a profitable segment once again. What are you going with this week? What are you putting into the mix in terms of a tracker horse?
Two, so I'll go very quickly, Basil. A horse of Sam Curling's down in Limerick called Spasiba. Now, he's got this horse off Paddy Toomey, who's, we all know, is a significantly shrewd operator on the flat. He got to a rating of 92, so it probably cost a pretty penny to change hands or whatever. But it was really good. Like for a debut on soft ground at Limerick, I just know that the first 5 that came clear in this race, he was the only one making seasonal debut on heavy ground at Limerick, and probably a couple of useful sorts in the race. I think Paul Nolan's horse was okay, that won. So I thought he did really well. He came back a couple of times to have a few bites of the cherry and stayed on well. And I'd be surprised now if he couldn't win a maiden hurdle, and he might develop into a nice horse, maybe get him into a handicap hurdle of some sort towards in the spring festival somewhere there. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And the other one I think you like as well, James de Burley, tanked through the second circuit of the Paddy Power. I think Ruby Walsh, I was watching on an RT race, Ruby Walsh came on and was just saying, hold on to him, Darrell, just hold on to him. And Darrell was trying his best just to keep him on an even keel. And
Tayesta's winner?
Possibly. I think the horse might need soft ground, which previously I thought maybe go back for the 2-5, where you could use a bit of that more a bit more speed, or he could travel a bit stronger through that race and maybe finish out his race a bit better. The 2.5 obviously is the Leopardstown Chase, but the chances of getting soft ground at Leopardstown in February for Dublin Racing Festival, or softer ground, or softer ground than what he got there, is probably slim enough, I suppose. So if the test it didn't come too soon, obviously only a couple of weeks away now, he'd make a lot of appeals for that. So watch out for him wherever he ends up next.
Of course, Dunboyne as well, Gordon has mentioned. So that was a tracker horse for you, Ronan. He's going to the Tiestas. He could carry the County Meath flag down on Willie Mullins' home, back garden, to see can Gordon win the Tiestas again. But Dunboyne obviously didn't run in the Welsh National, and he is going to the Tiestas Chase. But look forward to entries, of course. We will have the launch day coming up on Wednesday the 10th. So this day week as we are recording. Ronan, my tracker horse, actually, we could be talking about this horse on Tiestas Day, because the Galmoy Hurdle is the race as the Champ.ie race planner. I would certainly have this race as a potential target for the horse I'm going to mention here, and the Devil's Coachman for Noel Meade, back over hurdles. And the last time it swapped their fences for hurdles and actually came out and won the Boyne Hurdle up at Navan. And we were talking about him in the early stages last year being potentially a Stayers Hurdle candidate, but Noel Meade and JP McManus had different ideas and sent him down the chasing route. And he ended up, of course, in the Irish National, where I just think the Devil's Coachman didn't stay. I thought, given how poorly he jumped in the Tri-Town Chase, Roland, I thought it was a really good run to finish 7th. I mean, he was well beaten in the end, but I thought he's running. This horse has a fair engine now, and he was probably running. He finished 2nd to Sir Gerhard, by the way, at Punchestown. Sir Gerhard was very impressive, I thought, but I thought this might read good form. It looked a decent enough little race. A couple of them coming back from fences over hurdles, Devil's Coachman being one, but 2 mile 3 furlongs on this type of ground was probably on the sharp side now for the Devil's Coachman. I thought he ran well. He had to be shaken up turning into the straight to hold his position. And when they turned in, obviously the stamina has kicked in, and he's closing at Sir Gerhard at the line. He was only beaten 2.5 lengths. He's obviously rated higher as a hurdler than what he's achieved over fences. But I thought the Galmoy Hurdle up to 3 miles on what's likely to be testing ground at Gowran Park, I think this race would be ideal for him. And I think he would be very, very competitive in a race such as the Galmoy Hurdle. And I think Noel Meade, if you're listening, if you're watching, send the Devil's Coachman to the Galmoy Hurdle, because I think he'd have a right chance. And he's going in as an eye catcher for me on this week's show. So he's the tracker horse. And yeah, I think that's probably the 5th tracker horse that's got in that's wearing the green and gold, Ronan. But let's see, can the Devil's Coachman make up into a Galmoy Hurdle horse, perhaps?
Yeah, he's he's one I've struggled to get right down the years, Devil's Coachman, but it would make appeal for a race like that, especially on soft, heavy ground. So I can definitely see your angle there, Basil. Yeah.
Next up, it's our Week 7 selections.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Tiestas Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Tiestas, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Alpha's Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Justified favouritism, but sharp up deck out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, silver last, never be the finishing order.
On the tee from Centralstown, County Meath, Mr. Ronan Groome. We'll give you first innings. Go on, put your Week 7 selection in on the road to Cheltenham Challenge.
Well, you're giving me first dibs for... Are you going to do the reveal?
No,
Will I not reveal what your horse you're going for?
Go on, we'll give you first dibs.
It's Fact to File, who briefly mentioned earlier on in the in our kind of analysis of Grangeclare West, etc. He's a bit bigger now. He's nearly twice the price of Grangeclare West, and I just think that's a decent enough price. I rarely, I try not to listen to trainers or let that be a huge part of what I get into for selections and stuff like that, but it's hard not to be taken with just the way Willie Mullins was talking about this horse after the race. So just paint the picture for you. We were there after the race, and Willie was there with JP and Frank and
the boys.
The usual McManus clan, as you say, and they were chatting for ages. It was one of those ones where we kind of think, oh, lads, we need to get in before the next race, need to get this transcribed, etc., and get it down. And we were waiting for ages, and then they had to do the presentation. And eventually Willie's like, oh, sorry, lads, came over, and he was chatting to a couple of us. And stayed there for a good while with us, usually than longer. Maybe he had a bit more time at this point, but he was just chatting away about this thing, and he loves them. Straight over fences, never a doubt in his mind to go straight over fences. He jumps them so well. Loves what he's done since. Everything that Donegal Doyle told him about his point-to-point is chasing, he showed it there, jump well. I think he did, I think maybe a lot of them made about his jumping really well here. He did get in, he was a bit slow at his fences earlier on, but when he was allowed, I thought, when Mark Walsh said, right, go on, let's go and put this race to bed, he let fly at the last two, and that was the most impressive thing. People can grab the form, I suppose. Zana here, chasing has to be an afterthought for him. He doesn't really appeal as a chaser, I suppose. And Manila Cocooner has gone out like a light in third and possibly just not run his race, coming off a big long break. So you could grab the form that way, but I think it's nearly style over substance here. The way he came clear, the way Willie's talking about him.
Snap on the episodes.
For the first time, his history has been made.
History has been made. And look, I just have to let the reins off here. 7-1, enhanced from Boylesports from 6-1. I'm going with Fact to File as well this week, Ronan. I thought we might as well talk about the horse together, because you've mentioned the debrief afterwards and the performance itself. You mentioned how he was slow into one or two. Do you know what? I like the fact that he can pop or he can attack. I mean, his jump 2 out was electric, really, wasn't it? It was galloping the Champ-esque at the second. As of course, they've taken the last out as well, which for me has made it that little bit more of a stamina test. And I thought he's progressed quite a bit now from his chasing day. I love the progression he showed from his first run over fences, where I thought he was a touch keen in his race. And I mean, I heard some people mention an Arkle for Fact to File. That isn't going to happen. His experience on the old course, I think, could be important. He's finished second in the Champion Bumper. The form is obviously reading a lot better now since Captain Teague's come out and won the Chalo. So the form, I think, of that race is working out. What was the last horse Willie Mullins sent straight chasing after running in bumpers?
Missed that? Was it missed that? No?
I'm not entirely sure, but it's obviously the Fleur, the Pearl route. They absolutely love this horse, don't they? In Close Sutton, he's a gorgeous set of lugs in him. I think he's very intelligent, and that's what I like about him. I think, you know, he can get in, you know, he can pop along nicely in a race like the Brown Advisory. He can attack his fences when he needs to, and I just think he ticks a lot of boxes for the Brown Advisory. And I have to say, Ron, I think that's the route they're going to go, and we're getting them into the team at 7-1. I think that's a fair old price for the Brown Advisory.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's a bit overpriced. And the main thing as well, just one of my main takeaways was just how certain Willie was about Brown Advisory. You know, we know everybody who watches the show will tell you that the main stumbling block for Ante-Post punting is, where does Willie Mullins run his horses? Like, he has so many options, and there's so many options for him at Cheltenham. But Willie just asked after the race, what would you do? Would you be going Turners? Would you go National Hunt? He said, nah, Brown Advisory. I think he's a Brown Advisory horse, 3 miles. That's the way he goes. And maybe I could be made to look a fool in a while. Maybe Willie changes his mind again and goes somewhere else. But I just thought that was notable that he said it there and then. And you know,
and we haven't even
of novice chasers as well. And Corbett's Cross obviously was a little bit disappointing then in the Grade 1 the next day. So he would seem as the number one choice now for both the owner and trainer. So it just makes sense that the Brown advisory is there. And there's a lot of potential to shorten up between now and then.
Just looking at the race itself, Ronan, because we have to discuss the race. Obviously, Grangeclare West is 7-2 favourite, currently top of the market. I personally think I think Factor 5 would fairly take care of him now, no problem. The second horse, Stay Away Faye, we were quite bullish on his performance. Obviously, the form hasn't worked out well, and I just think Factor 5 is a better horse. Corbett's Cross, interesting ride the last day, I'll say no more. And I mean, the one thing about getting involved in these novice chases at this point in time, I think now's the time, because I don't think if you look down along the list, I mean, it's not going to be that big a field, the Brown advisory. And okay, we're playing a small little bit of green and gold and Willie Mullins bingo here because we don't know for absolute definite, but I think this race looks the ideal target. I think 7-1 could look a very good price on the day. So that's our portfolios, Ronan. Before we do wrap up, obviously a couple of selections took a hit over Christmas. We have to address it. Willmount 16-1. I think you could probably get double in places now after the Supreme Novices heard. I think 2 miles will be a strip. I think good ground is a better ground is going to be what he wants. But that certainly took a bit of a hit in the Challow. I think it took a little bit of a hit when Declarations came in at Newbury, because I was disappointed to see them stepping up and trip with Willmount. Allegory Devassi, she was disappointing. That didn't look her true race, Ronan. And Mighty Bandit as well was a little bit disappointed. But you Firefox, of course, this weekend to look forward to.
Firefox, yeah, Gaelic Warrior is a nice price. Firefox is a bit shorter now, but we'll see what it does on Sunday. Mighty Bandit was disappointing, but was found to have nasal discharge after the race. I don't know. I'm no vet. I don't know what that means, but maybe that's an excuse of some sort. Maybe we give him another chance, but definitely disappointing. But definitely didn't run his race either. I don't think in the slowly run race he was bet well before the race got interesting at all. So I wouldn't give up on him completely. So look, there's a lot to be done. Lot of races to be run since. And as you said, Allegory Devassi could come back. I thought she was very disappointing. Was there at Fairyhouse on Sunday, but I don't know, something might have been amiss there as well.
I'd say you're glad you didn't put up Jerry Colum for the Gold Cup. Jerry Colum gets a crack. Jerry Hannon. What was his performance of the Christmas, Ronan?
Jerry. Oh, God, you put me in the spot now. A few of that percentage.
Rambo. Attaboy, Charlie. Yeah, no, listen, it was a great Christmas. I enjoyed this show, Ronan. We'd lots to get through. It's got over the hour mark, but we're going to cut it there. And as always, get your big questions in for next week. We look forward to getting back to our Monday shows, Ronan. Christmas was hectic. You got engaged.
Yes.
Caldwell Potter gave you the wobbly knee. And another good man gone.
That's it. A quick shout out to Fintan Finnegan, one of our loyal watchers as well. He was good enough to come over and introduce himself at Fairyhouse. I was there.
Is he from Monaghan, Ronan? Am I right in saying?
I'm not sure where he's from. If I recall correctly, he sounded like that sort of accent, all right. But Soundman, Fintan for coming over and having a chat. We were chatting about Cheltenham for a while. He's got a few nice positions himself. I think he has El Fabiolo at a nice price and a few others and a decent looking Yankee, I think. So with a few of his mates. So well done, Fintan, and cheers for coming over. We always like to have a chat at the races now these days. Getting more and more as more people are watching. It's great. So yeah, all good on that front. Yeah, make sure, thanks for that, Fintan. And just last chance to get involved in this great competition. Racing State to the Theistis Chase on the 25th. And the competition, of course, is pinned over on Twitter. So last chance to get involved. Like, retweet, you know what to do. Tag your mates down below. And we have a good show coming up this weekend. Looking ahead to the Lawlers at Nason. We've Sandown at the weekend as well on Saturday. So lots to look forward to. We'll be back with the Monday show, as always, next week. So update your portfolios down below and give the old video a like. We appreciate all the support as always, and we'll see you next week.